Good morning, ladies and gents. My name's Pip Wilkins, and I'm the Chief Executive of the British Franchise Association. It's a great pleasure to be invited to speak today about the benefits of growing your brand, both in the UK and looking at exporting overseas. We thought we'd start with a bit of audience participation in asking you how many of you are looking to come into the UK with a new concept? Show of hands. And how many of you are looking to go from the UK out to other countries? Okay, that's good because I've got an expert on that. Franchising is one of the most robust and lucrative business models in the world, giving people the opportunity to get into business for themselves but not by themselves. And today we're seeing the presence of more and more international franchises in the UK. So I wanted to share some basic statistics with you first. 20% of UK franchisors are now in fact master franchisees. 38% of our homegrown franchisors now franchise outside of the UK. And 1 in 9 brands in the UK are considering going abroad. So the appetite to expand globally is not just seen in the UK, but in the US, Europe, and all over the world. I wanted to give you a bit of background into the British Franchise Association, the history of franchising here in the UK, and how we set up. So business format franchising, as we know it, was firmly established in the UK back in the 1950s. During the 60s, the popularity of franchising really started to grow with the population, with the economic output, and with social change. Catering companies were really leading the way for us here in the UK, and there's now quite a lot of the large fast food brands have become well-established international franchises. The boom period in franchising for us really slowed down in the 1970s as a result of some non-franchise systems coming into the UK market, pyramid selling schemes that were calling themselves franchises. They promised a lucrative return on investment, but in fact that rarely came. As some of you may be aware, franchising in the UK isn't directly regulated by the UK government, so anyone can call themselves a franchise opportunity. In many other countries, franchising will have strict legislation, whether it's laws in the USA requiring franchisors to prepare disclosure documents, or laws in Australia where franchisors have to comply with the franchising code of conduct. Here we don't have any of that. So despite business format franchising offering some really great opportunity in the 70s, it was fairly tarred with the same brush as the non-franchise systems. And so for us, the BFA was born. 8 of the largest UK franchisors got together in 1977 because they wanted to differentiate themselves so that they could say they were proper, ethical business format franchises. With no previous standards for franchising in the UK, we created our own, and we became the regulatory body acting for the interests of franchising as a whole in the UK. We're now a subscription-funded, not-for-profit trade association, and we are run for our members, by our members. By that, I mean we have a board of directors, and on that we have franchisors, franchisees, and professional advisors. Companies here in the UK don't have to join the BFA, but if they do, we assess them against quite a strict code of criteria. We look at their operational practices, business procedures, franchise agreements, and we really look at the support that franchisors offer to franchisees. We now have 270 franchisors in the UK, and that's actually a third of the UK franchisors. It's one of the highest penetration rates of franchise associations worldwide, especially because we have standards involved. We help potential franchisees recognise the good franchises and help businesses that want to franchise differentiate themselves as one of the good operators. And one of the big things we do is spend time informing the public on what good franchising looks like. We partner with brands like Venture Marketing Group to ensure that each and every one of the franchise brands exhibiting here today are properly accredited. The ability for franchisors to attract potential franchisees to invest in their systems depends very much on their own reputation in the UK and the reputation of franchising in general. So being part of the association will help franchisors evidence their commitment to ethical franchising. In order to join, we look at lots of different things. We have a detailed application form that we ask a franchisor to fill out. It will give us a lot about their background in franchising, the background that they have in their own sector, and really their experience and longevity in the brand that they're in. We look for a franchise agreement that meets the European Code of Ethics for franchising. We review franchise accounts to ensure the franchise business is viable. And we look at franchisee accounts too, where the franchisor has them, to make sure the franchisee is performing in line with the projections that the franchisors put forward. We look at all the marketing materials to make sure that the franchisor is really portraying the business in a true and accurate way. And we seek references from potential and existing franchisees. You know, is the business that you're doing performing the way that the franchisor said it would? And if it's a new concept, so if you're new to the UK market and you've set up, we want to see that you've got a sponsor, someone that will stand behind your application and say this company has taken the right advice. For us, the key to success in franchising in the UK is doing your homework. Just because a franchise has a successful track record in its homegrown market doesn't mean it will be successful in the UK market. We see lots of businesses come in, set up big operations in London, and it's not always successful. We want to see a pilot that you've operated in the UK so that you can evidence that it's successful. You can make the tweaks and correct the model and the procedures here. And that will give potential investors comfort knowing that you can be successful in the UK. Accrediting against the strict code of criteria that we assess means that franchising in the UK is protected, and we can boast some impressive stats about how franchising has worked. Overall, the picture in our industry is one of great health, and it continues to prosper. It's a growing market. We now have 901 franchise systems in the UK. The contribution to the UK economy is 15.1 billion, which is an increase of 46% over the last 10 years and up 10% in the last 2. The number of people employed in franchising currently sits at 621,000, and about half of those are in full-time employment. Again, that's an increase of 70% over the past 10 years. The number of franchisee-owned businesses has increased by 14% in the last 2 years, 44,200 franchisees, and those businesses are becoming much larger as our sector matures in the UK. Average turnover is now at 250,000. Employment per unit is around an average of 10 or more staff. And we've got a record in terms of the number of franchise units that will report profitability here in the UK. That currently sits at 97%. And one of the key statistics for us is the forced failure rate in franchising in the UK. It's currently at 2.2%, but that's been consistently at 5% or lower for the last 15 years. Now, in the early days, franchising in the UK was very much about fast food chains and hotels, but now we have many different models and business sectors represented. For us, the big trend sectors was children's activities. It saw a big boom with everything from dance to rugby and swimming to singing. Our most recent growth sector has been domiciliary care. We've got brands such as Home Instead and Right at Home, which are the bigger brands here in the UK, have both come in as a master franchisee. And we've got homegrown brands like Bluebird Care really leading the way in their sector. The next area of growth for us looks to be fitness. And even I'm struggling now to say I can't go to the gym when most of them are open 24/7. I need to go. So the question that they asked me to address is why choose franchising in the UK as a place to expand? Despite Brexit, the UK economy is strong. A recent article on the BBC highlighted that many economists, prior to the referendum, had been predicting an immediate and significant impact on both the UK economy and consumer confidence, should the UK vote to leave the EU. But so far, those predictions haven't come to pass. Latest figures showed that the economy grew by 0.6% between July and September, which was faster than previous estimates. As a country, the figures I outlined on franchising, which come from an annual survey we do every year with NatWest Bank, have shown consistent growth in the UK for 20 years, even through the big economic downturn of 2008. We have no complex franchising regulation in the UK, making it much easier to export here than a number of other places around the world. You get to join one of the leading franchise associations if you come to the UK. And the banks here really support ethical franchising. If you've got robust business plans, they have dedicated franchise units and will lend to both you and your franchisees. And we don't want you to do it alone. The big thing with us as an association is we want to implement a partnership approach. We want to help brands that are looking to expand in the UK do it and do it right. As well as different training programs, we have access to some of the best professional advisors around. Please, when you are looking for accredited advisors, do take note of BFA membership. These are brands that have had to go through an accreditation process because they understand franchising and they understand the UK market. The other thing for us is that we really pride ourselves on is the access that we can give you to other franchisors. The opportunity to share best practice and know-how with other people that have done it, they've made the expensive mistakes, and they're prepared to tell you about it.